Welcome in, belly up, have a seat, grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome on into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. As you can tell, my voice is only getting worse, but we are going to push through for you. It is Saturday, December 27th. This is episode 220, and this time we're going to go inside the league. In this show, we dedicate most of the talk to the Wingman Fantasy Football League, where we close the books on Week 16 and transition into Week 17. But for those of you not overly interested in our league results, we will break down and preview some NFL matchups for Week 17. So stick with me to the first 15 minutes for that. Then we'll go back into the league news, go back in time for the Week 16 rewind, check in on the updated playoff brackets, take a gander at our Goose-O-Meter. We judge our managers in this week's best and worst. And then we see if we've added any more pups to the kennel in this week's sad puppies. Then we'll look forward into Week 17 and the championship round of the Wingman Fantasy Football League, where we'll see who's on top of the latest and final power rankings. We'll go over this week's matchups in the Wingman Fantasy Football League playoff bracket. But before we do any of that, I'd like to make sure that everybody is in the room.
Wingmen assemble!
All right, we're going to pick up from where we left off in our NFL game previews and breakdowns. We have already reviewed the Houston Texans at the LA Chargers, Baltimore Ravens at the Green Bay Packers, Arizona Cardinals at the Cincinnati Bengals, Pittsburgh Steelers at the Cleveland Browns, and New Orleans Saints at the Tennessee Titans. That was done in our last show, our Week 17 waiver wire show. So if you want breakdowns of those games, just go back to that episode. In this breakdown, we're going to go over the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts, Tampa Bay Bucks at the Miami Dolphins, the New England Patriots at the New York Jets, and the Seattle Seahawks heading into the Carolina Panthers. So let's get right into it. All right, our first game here is the Jacksonville Jaguars heading into Indianapolis. This game is Jacksonville comes in at 11-4. Indianapolis Colts are on life support at 8-7. The over-under is 48.5. Jacksonville is favored by 6 points. I'm picking the over on this game, and I think Jacksonville is going to win and cover on the road. Now let's look at our Jacksonville options here. They're playing against the Colts, who give up the 17th fewest points to quarterbacks, 13th fewest points to running backs, third most points to the receivers, 6th most to the tight end position, 13th most to kickers, and the 7th fewest to defenses. So almost everyone here is in play, as there are no tough matchups except for the defense. So I've got Trevor Lawrence as a could play. He's going to be in your lineup unless you have some guys with much better options or matchups. Travis Etienne is also going to be in your lineup, as it just came through the wire a bit ago that Bashal Tune is actually out for this particular matchup. So Travis Etienne is the main back by himself once again. I got Brian Thomas Jr. on the top of the receiver list this week. I think he's going to have a breakout game this week, as it is a big-time positive matchup, and it's about time he gets going. Brenton Strange, you can also play here as well. Cam Little, the 13th best kicker in a neutral matchup. You can be all these Jacksonville Jaguars can be placed in your lineup today. I would say none of these guys are must-starts, but every single Jacksonville Jaguar offensive player is someone who could honestly be in your lineup without too much hesitation. Let's go over to the Indianapolis Colts side of the ball here. The Jacksonville Jaguars give up the 9th most points to quarterbacks, 2nd fewest to running backs, as Jonathan Taylor just finishes his season going through the gauntlet. The Jacksonville Jaguars give up the 13th most to wide receivers, 9th most to tight end, 2nd fewest to kickers, and 15th fewest to defenses here. So of all these guys, again, on the Indianapolis Colts side, these are all guys you could play, as the matchups just are not strong enough to deter you. The only matchups that is really tough is Jonathan Taylor, but he's also an elite running back. And the way I do it, if you're an elite player, even in a tough matchup, we're not going to sit you. We're just going to lower our expectations. The only player on the Colts who has a green matchup this week is Tyler Warren, as he is a top 6 tight end. And the matchup is just really, really good for the Indianapolis Colts in terms of tight end play. The only player I have in the red on the Colts is Blake Grupe, the kicker, only because Jacksonville gives up the second fewest points to kickers, and he is not an elite kicker. But this game will be indoors in the winter. He's probably still going to be in your lineup. So everyone in this matchup could go. None of these guys are smash plays except for Tyler Warren. But they're going to be in your lineup unless you have some much, much better options. And there's going to be some out there. Our next game is the Tampa Bay Bucks heading into Miami. Tampa Bay needs to win out to make the playoffs at 7-8, while the Miami Dolphins come in at 6-9. The over-under on this one is 44.5. Tampa Bay is a road favorite by 6 points. Again, another road favorite by almost a touchdown. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay winning this one, but I'm going to have Miami to cover, as Tampa Bay always wins by 1 score or less. All right, let's look at the Tampa Bay side of the ball here. Again, good matchups all around the board. Baker Mayfield is the 18th rated quarterback in terms of points per game, and the Dolphins give up the 10th most. Bucky Irving, the 16th best running back in terms of points per game. The Dolphins give up the 11th most. Mike Evans is rated at 42, but don't forget he left a game early with a 0 early in the season. Since he's come back, he scored double digits in both of his games. It is a bit of a tougher matchup as the Dolphins give up the 9th fewest to receivers, but we're not sitting Mike Evans in a game that the Bucs have to win. Cade Otton's got the best matchup here, as the Dolphins give the 2nd most points to tight ends, but with all these receiving options, Cade Otton is not really worth playing. Chase McLaughlin, number 10 kicker, in the 10th worst matchup here, a neutral matchup nonetheless. He could be in your lineup as well. And the Tampa Bay Bucs defense, a neutral defense and a neutral matchup. So all these players here for Tampa Bay, similar to Jacksonville, are guys that you could play without hesitation. You could play, but you want to just comb through your lineup, your roster, look through the waiver wire, because there might be better options, but these aren't guys that we're stressing about sitting. On the Miami Dolphins side of things here, we got Quentin Ewers, the new rookie quarterback, taking over for Tua Tagovailoa. Has not been doing great since his first start last week, but this is one of the best matchups in the game, as the Tampa Bay Bucs give up the 2nd most points to opposing quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points. Devon the Man Achane.
Now you're a man, M-A-N, man.
Devon the Man Achane is the 6th best running back in terms of points per game. This is a neutral matchup. He should be in your lineup. Jalen Waddle comes in at 23 in points per game for wide receiver. This game is a middle-of-the-road matchup here. Tampa Bay actually, I think, is pretty favorable for receivers. Darren Waller is the 7th highest-rated tight end in terms of points per game. Yes, that's true. And Tampa Bay gives up the 7th most points to the tight end position. So Devon Achane and Darren Waller are your should plays. You should really be trying to get these guys in at all costs. And in terms of the defense and kicking game for Miami, they are not rated super high in neutral matchup. These are guys we could avoid this week, but again, we're not going out of our way to find new kickers. Although the kicker and defense for Miami, I'm looking for other options for sure. I'm not going to stress about it. On to our next game here. We've got the New England Patriots heading into the New York Jets. Patriots come in at 12-3, still fighting for that number 1 seed, while the Jets are just the opposite at 3-12. The over-under is 42.5 points. New England is favored by a whopping 13.5. And I'm going with the over on this one, as New England is going to feast on the road. New England's going to win and cover this game, just because the matchups for our offensive players are just so good for our New England offensive players. Starting off with Drake May, who's actually ranked as the number 3 quarterback in points per game this season, up against the Jets, who are a neutral matchup, who give the 14th most, but we're not sitting Drake May. He should be in your lineup. Travion Henderson, this one's a little more questionable just because of his health. He left last week with a concussion. He shed his non-contact jersey late in the week in practice. It appears he's trending towards a play. So at this point, we're going to treat him like he is playing. We've got Travion Henderson, the number 22 ranked running back in points per game, against the Jets, who give up the 4th most points to running back. Travion Henderson, assuming he's active, should be in your lineup. Even limited touches, should have a very strong day. Stephon Diggs is rated as the 36th receiver overall. This is a neutral matchup against the Jets, but we've got Kayshon Boutte and Mac Hollins have already been ruled out. Stephon Diggs is the only wide receiver of note, while Demario Douglas is also listed as questionable. I'm giving Stephon Diggs the personal Wingman Fantasy Football bump up into a should play. You should be actively trying to get Stephon Diggs into your lineup this weekend. Hunter Henry, the 14th rated tight end in a neutral matchup. He is a solid player. And again, with all the injuries to the receivers, he is going to be receiver 1 or 2 for the New England Patriots. He should be in your lineup. He could be in your lineup as well, but there's no reason to look for other tight ends. Andy Borregales is rated 18th in terms of points per game, but the New York Jets give up the most points to kickers this season. Again, we want to get him in our lineup if we can. And the New England defense rated at 17, pretty much in the middle of the pack, but the Jets just get sacked over and over and over again. If you've got New England defense on your roster, you should be salivating and putting them in your lineup with confidence. And then Ramondre Stevenson, I wanted a little teaser here. I have him as my start of the week because we look for some guys on the fringe of players here. If Travion Henderson was not going to play, oh my gosh, this would be a smash play. We're going to lower this down just a little bit. He's still a could play. There's enough to go around in this matchup for running backs against the Jets. He is a could play and as a back end flex, but I'm going to give him the Wingman Fantasy Football bump as a should play. If you've got Ramondre Stevenson on your roster, you should be actively trying to get him into your lineup. Now for the New York Jets side of the ball. Honestly, this is going to be so easy. We're not playing any Jets. The only one we can consider here is Breece Hall, and he has a tough matchup as the New England Patriots give up the 3rd fewest points to running backs. I've got Breece Hall in my lineup right now, and I'm really, really trying to find some other options, but there's no one on my team. I might have to go to the stream here. I might go to Darren Waller, for example, or I might pick up someone like Taysom Hill to sit for Breece Hall. It's really hard. He is their best player. They're going to score at some point here, but it's really, in terms of his ability and the matchup, it's really tough going for Breece Hall. The passing game is a complete shutdown for the Jets. We're not playing any Jets except for the consideration of Breece Hall, but really, you should sit Breece Hall. Our last game we're going to go over here, guys, for this section here, part 2 of our preview, is the Seattle Seahawks at 12-3, heading into Carolina, where the Panthers are 8-7, and they need to win to get into the playoffs here. This game is 42.5 over-under. Seattle, another road favorite. All 4 of these games have road favorites of near a touchdown, as Seattle is favored by 7 points. I'm taking the under on this game. I have Carolina to cover, but I'm taking Seattle to get the road win. All right, let's look at our Seattle Seahawks options. We've got Sam Darnold rated as a 20th quarterback in terms of points per game, but the Carolina Panthers give up the 8th fewest. Seattle wins, but not because of Sam Darnold here. He does come through in the clutch sometimes if they need him, but they will get their scoring through their defense and other random and punt returns, for example, especially with Rashid Shaheed. So Sam Darnold is a should sit. Ken Walker, off of one of his better games of the year, ranked as the 29th running back in points per game. But the matchup is strong as the Carolina Panthers give up the 8th most. You could play Ken Walker, but I just don't trust him. So I'm going to comb my roster for other options. But when it's all said and done, he's probably going to be in your lineup. Jackson Smith and Jigba is just elite, going to be in your lineup no matter what. A.J. Barner could be a back-end tight end, as he's a quality tight end in a neutral matchup. Jason Myers, the number 1 overall kicker, had only 2 points last week, should rebound here and have a strong day. And the Seattle defense also ranked as number 1 in terms of points per game for defenses. They'll be in your lineup every week. Now, because the matchup is so good here, you honestly could play Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed, and Zach Charbonnet as back-end flexes. These are not guys I'm looking to get in my lineup, but these are guys as I comb through you could put them in an emergency. On the Carolina side of the ball here, honestly, their defensive matchups are just so tough. We've got Bryce Young rated as 26 per game in a neutral matchup as Seattle gives up the 13th fewest. So I'm going to put Bryce Young as a should sit, as there's got to be better options out there. Rico Dowdle has been slowing down quite a bit since his mid-season bust out here. He's now ranked as the 19th running back in points per game, and Seattle gives it the 4th fewest. I'm avoiding Rico Dowdle this week. Tedero McMillan, King Tet. Is rated as number 16 overall in points per game for receivers, and the matchup is neutral as the Seattle Seahawks give up the 11th fewest. You could play Tedero McMillan hoping for a touchdown here, but again, we're combing through our lineups here as the Carolina Panthers are not a team I really want to play, but there's no problem playing. But there is no problem if you have to play Tedero McMillan. And at the same time, Jatavian Sanders, tight end for the Carolina Panthers, this is the best part of the matchup against the Seattle Seahawks, who give the 5th most points to the tight end position. If you are desperate, I consider Jatavian Sanders close to the same quality as A.J. Barner for this particular matchup. He could be in your lineup, but I would really try to find some other options. Ryan Fitzgerald, we're going to sit. The Carolina defense, we're going to sit. Chuba Hubbard and Jalen Coker, we are going to sit in this game. We do have 5 more games we're going to review before the Sunday action kicks off, so come find us for our next show here and our NFL preview part 3, where we break down the final 5 games of the Week 17 slate. All right, guys, getting back into our league news and notes. Thanks for you guys who stuck around, who are just interested in the previews. But now the rest of the way is going to be about the Wingman Fantasy Football League. So stay if you like. I just want to give you that heads up so you're not waiting for any more news. All right, it is now time to go back in time as we do the Week 16 Rewind.
Let's go back.
Week 16 Rewind.
All right, guys, starting off with our little boy bracket and our consolation bracket. We had the number 8 seed, Michael's Amazing Spidey, taking on Ben's Go Gators as the number 5 seed. Both these teams got knocked out of the first round of the playoffs and are now playing for, at best, the 5th place finish. And Amazing Spidey took this one down 102.5 to 83 to 85.3. A nearly 19-point victory for Amazing Spidey, who's going to head on to the top of the consolation bracket, or to the 5th place game, rather, while Ben's Go Gators will fall into the 7th place game. Bernie's Team B, our number 1 point scorer for the entire season, was 3rd last week in points, but it wasn't enough as he went up against the team who scored the highest points, so he has fallen down to this bracket. Bernie's Team B at the number 3 seed up against Katie's King George, the number 7 seed, who just missed out of winning her last round by 0.18 points. She rebounded in terms of scoring as Katie's King George put up a whopping 113.55 points, but it was not enough as Bernie's Team B rebounded to get 124.01 points. Unfortunately for Katie's King George, she was the highest scoring loser this week.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
All right, so we have Michael's Amazing Spidey going to move on to take on Bernie's Team B for 5th place, while Ben's Go Gators is now going to be playing against Katie's King George for the 7th place game. All right, now for the guys who still have a chance for a championship. Our first game here is Brian's Under 40, our number 2 seed at 9-5, up against Alex as they took our jobs, who came in at 7-7. And Alex, they took our jobs, came in projected to win by over 6 points, a 95.59 to 89.18 projection. However, we had an upset this week.
Average Joe's wins in a shocking upset.
I feel shocked.
Brian's under 40 takes this one down 102.38 to 79.60. Just a week after Alex They Took Our Jobs has the highest score of the week, he falls down and gets the lowest score of the week. Unfortunately, this also snaps a 6-game streak for Alex They Took Our Jobs, where he scored at least 99 points or more. Let's see. And all right, let's see what players helped Brian's under 40 advance to the championship round here. Starting off with Ashton Genty came out of nowhere to get 31.3 points. And Devon, the man, A-Chan,
Now you're a man. M-A-N, man.
contributed 6.5 points to keep that train chugging along. He has been an amazingly consistent player all year long for the Miami Dolphins and for Brian's under 40. He also had the Houston Texans defense chip in with 10 points. Now, Brian's under 40 did have a dud in his starting lineup as Darnell Mooney could only get 3.4 points. And he had Alec Pierce, who was in his starting lineup last week, who only got 2.6 points in week 15. Was moved to the bench, but he came back with 22.6 points in week 16. This is going to be a starting lineup dilemma now for Brian's under 40. He made it through the week without any major injuries. Now, moving on to Alex They Took Our Jobs. He had Jahmyr Gibbs contribute with 17.8 points, and he made the bold move of putting Harold Fannin in over Terry McLaurin, and boy, did it work out, as Harold Fannin got 17.5 points, while McLaurin had about 6.8. His biggest dud and the biggest surprise dud for They Took Our Jobs was Jason Myers, the number one scoring kicker, and by far could only get 2 points in that thrilling overtime game on Thursday night against the Los Angeles Rams. He did have one strong player on his bench, Stephon Diggs, had 18.3 points. It would have only improved his outcome by about 12 points, so it wouldn't have made a difference. He was going to lose this game no matter which players he put in his lineup. On to our next game here. We've got Corey's May Daddy 2s up against Jeff's Always Right. Jeff's Always Right is our number 1 seed at 9-5, while Corey's May Daddy 2s is the number 4 seed at 8-6. And boy, oh boy, was this game a roller coaster. First of all, it started off with a huge Thursday night for Puka Nacua for Jeff's Always Right, who came in with 40.5 points. Seemed like an insurmountable lead to overcome here by May Daddy 2s, but we still had a ton of football left to go here. And then even after all the Sunday games were done, we had the score was 90.2 for May Daddy 2s, while Jeff's Always Right had 102.82. So he had a 12.5 point lead going into Monday night, but May Daddy 2s had 2 players in his lineup for Monday night, Brock Purdy and Eddie Pinero. And boy, these guys wasted no time turning the lead back around here as they contributed to get 45.2 points combined. So in this one, May Daddy 2s takes this one down as the highest scoring team of the week, 135.4 to 102.82. Like I said, May Daddy 2s was the highest scoring team of the week. And not only that, but he was also able to achieve the largest blowout victory of the week of a lead of more than 32 points.
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
All right, let's see what players helped Corey May Daddy 2s peak at the right time with this monster score. He had 7 of his 8 players make the top performer list this week, starting off with Brock Purdy at 32.9 points.
He's heating up.
Derrick Henry had a strong day at 24.8 points. Jackson Smith and Jigba had 19.6.
He's on fire.
Jamar Chase, 15.4.
He's heating up.
Eddie Pinero at 12.3.
He's on fire.
Michael Wilson at 12.2.
He's on fire.
And he went streaming for his defense. The New York Giants defense had 12 points.
We'll cross the streams.
Excuse me, Egon. You said crossing the streams was bad.
His only dud, and honestly, I don't know if he really made the cut, but I had to put him on here. DK Metcalf had 6.2 points. There was no one on his bench who could have improved his score. He made it through the week without any major injuries. Did May Daddy 2s. He is peaking at the right time heading into the championship game. All right, let's give one last look here at Jeff's always right players here. We mentioned it going into the Thursday night game here. Puka Nacua
Hakuna Matata.
had a whopping 40.5 points on Thursday night.
He's on fire.
Kyle Pitts keeps it rolling at 15.2 points.
He's on fire.
And Andy Borregales, kicker for New England, had 10.6 points. He had some duds, really let him down this week. He lost Patrick Mahomes, so he had the option of Jacoby Brissett or Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, he went with Jacoby Brissett, who only had 12.62 points. Josh Jacobs finally let him down at 5.8. And Khalil Shakir added only 5.4. He did have some stronger plays on his bench, but honestly, he wasn't going to be able to catch May Daddy 2s, as Joe Burrow had 28.96 points on the bench, and Brenton People Are Strange had 12.4 points on the bench. All right, let's take a look at our updated big boy bracket. All right, as we just mentioned here, we've got May Daddy 2s, our number 4 seed, and coming on hot is now up against the number 2 seed. Brian's under 40 in the championship game, and we'll break down this matchup a little later in the show. All right, guys, it is now time to take a look at our updated Goose-O-Meter.
I'm just goosing along.
I want to thank you guys so much. There were no gooses this week. We're still stuck at 26, which is too high, I do admit. And just to be fair, your May Daddy 2s, who's making it into the finals, is on top of our Goose-O-Meter leaderboard at 5 gooses for the season, while only They Took Our Jobs and Go Gators are the only 2 managers not to have a goose this season. All right, guys, it is now time for this week's best and worst.
Hey guys, did you find it?
Nope.
But check this out.
Wingman Fantasy Football League. Best manager moves and worst manager moves. In this week's best and worst.
All right, thumbs up. Ready, guys? Let's do this.
Stick to the pledge.
You
Stick to the plan.
are the absolute worst!
All right, our best and worst is where we see which strategies proved most fruitful for our managers for this last particular week. Our best manager this week is May Daddy 2s, finishing the regular season with the second most overall points, despite leading the league with 5 gooses, 2 of them coming from the San Francisco defense. That was pretty impressive. You could survive all those goose eggs. But this is playoff times, and you saw your one glaring weakness and decided to finish off the big boy bracket, entering the stream, dropping the 32nd ranked defense in San Francisco and picking up the 31st ranked defense in the New York Giants, and man, did it pay off. Picking up and starting the Giants against the Minnesota Vikings, you got the second highest score for any defense that week in Week 16. And the cherry on top is now the New York Giants will play against the Las Vegas Raiders, the team that gives up the most points to opposing defenses. A proactive move indeed. Will that be the difference in you earning your first Wingman Fantasy Football Championship? Only time will tell. All right, now the worst for this week, guys, is... well, there is no worst this week, because at this point, everyone is still alive is a winner the way I look at it. But I'm going to break down some minor mistakes, even though really they didn't affect any outcomes. Jeff's always right, lost by the most in the semifinals, and although he made a mistake by playing Jacoby Brissett over Joe Burrow, the differential was just too much to overcome. So even though it was a mistake, it wasn't the result of him not advancing. Our other loser this week is Alex, as They Took Our Jobs. He had a combination of playing options that could have gotten him a higher score, but putting in Fannin over McLaurin wasn't one of them. He made the right move putting Fannin, who outscored McLaurin by 11 points, and the only player that he could have subbed in from the bench was Stephon Diggs over Jacoby Myers, which would have increased his score by another 11.5 points. Considering the options, he played it pretty well, getting 50-50 on that call. It's pretty good. And like I said, no matter which combination he played, he was still going to lose this game. So this one's more about praising our best manager for Week 16 as opposed to shaming our worst managers for Week 16. All right, guys, it's time to check in on our kennel. Do we have any new sad puppies?
Wingman Fantasy Football. Sad puppy.
Oh, Jeff's always right, never wrong. Well, with his return to the league in nearly a 15-year hiatus, Jeff's always right came out of the gate blazing. Starting the season with a 5-game winning streak, he began 5-0 this year. He seemed unbeatable until you looked under the hood and saw that he was a very top-heavy team, with Puka Nacua, Josh Jacobs, and a true bounce-back quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. With the early mid-season injury to Puka just showed how vulnerable you might be if you missed out on some of these top performers. You were going to need to fortify your roster for a long championship run. And you did just that with Week 9 acquisitions of Jacoby Brissett and the bold and brilliant move to pick up Joe Burrow a full 4 weeks before he would return from toe surgery. Then Josh Jacobs getting banged up in the latter part of the year would have Jeff always right fighting to hold on to a division title and perhaps even have a chance to win a first-round bye. With an important and clutch 2-game winning streak to end the regular season, he would, in fact, be always right and take back the number 1 seed, a divisional payout, and earn the first-round bye. No one can take that away from you, however, but you ran into a buzzsaw in the semifinals. The team with the highest projected remaining points through the playoffs ended up to be just too much, as May Daddy 2s would score a whopping 135 points and sent you into the third place game for the final week of the season. Jeff's always right, an impressive return to the league, and earning a payout is no small feat. Unfortunately, your quest for a Wingman Fantasy Football Championship has come to an end. All right, we've got one more sad puppy this week. We've got Alex's Day took our jobs. After winning the championship in 2024 from the last draft position, mind you, that was an incredible feat. You can never quite get your footing, though, in 2025. It seemed like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. Heading into Week 10 at 4-5, you seem to settle the ship here, right the ship. Not always getting the victories, but through Weeks 10 to 13, you went 2-2, but you hit your stride, scoring more than 99 points in all 4 of those contests. The high scores in those points kept you in good shape, even with the losses, as you were working your way up the tiebreaker ladder. Let's see. In Week 14, you had a chance to get back into the playoffs. A resounding 45-point victory on the final week of the regular season against the team who at the time was the number 1 seed got you back into the playoffs, but also had you jump from 8th to 6th place to become the 3rd highest scoring team of the regular season. Now the real challenges would begin, as you would face the overall point leader in the first round of the playoffs in Bernie's Team B. You showed out at just the right time, earning the top score of the first round behind 26 points from your best player, not Jahmyr Gibbs, but kicker Jason Myers. Would propel you past the season's point leader and into the second round. It seemed like a second consecutive championship game appearance was inevitable, but then the unthinkable happened. Your steady high-scoring kicker Jason Myers had his first down game since Week 5. And the ups and downs of a fantasy football season reared its ugly head. Just 1 week after scoring the most points in the league, it was followed up by scoring the lowest points in the league. You will now have a chance to earn 3rd place. That is the goal in front of you. Unfortunately, your quest for a back-to-back title is now over. All right, I didn't break it down fully, but I want to do a quick glance over at our waiver wire activity going through the championship week here, as this is the time to pick up last-minute starters or block your opponents. And we have 2 managers with 2 different strategies heading into the championship. We have May Daddy 2s versus Brian's Under 40. Both had approximately $87 in fab left. Brian's Under 40 had $89 left, while May Daddy 2s had $87 left. And May Daddy 2's team is stacked from top to bottom, so he's not picking up starters. He's picking up guys to block. He spent $40 on Tajay Spears to block him from being picked up, and $47 to block Dylan Sampson from going to his opponent. Just to show you here, he spent all his remaining fab in terms of trying to block his opponent while his opponent spent $0 to pick up Harrison Mevis, a player he's actually going to start. It's just interesting to see the different strategies coming down the end. We've got a player using no money to fill a weakness, and we have a player using all of his money to block a potential opponent. Nonetheless, none of these players had multiple bids here, so there was no need to spend any money on any of these players, as the waiver wire was, no one was fighting for players here. So it's not like these $40 and $47 bids kept them away from under 40, but it did ensure that it was going to be very difficult for him to do that. All right, guys, now it's time to take a look at our updated power rankings. And like I said, let's get right into it.
By the power of Grayskull.
I'm living in it, no one man should have all that power.
Wingman Power Rankings.
All right, the way we're doing it now, we're just looking at the teams with their projected points going forward. May Daddy Twos remains on top with the highest projected points going forward. It came to fruition last week as he was the highest scoring team. Can he do it back-to-back weeks? Team B in the third place game is number 2 in terms of points per game. And Amazing Spidey with a big jump from 7 to 4. So our third place game has the number 2 and number 4 teams against each other. Our fifth place game, I don't know what I said. Our fifth place game has the number 2 and 4 power ranking teams against each other. But our championship has the number 1 and the number 10. This is a huge discrepancy in terms of projected points for our final week of the season. All right, now let's take a look at this week's matchups.
This week's matchup.
Our first matchup we're going to break down quickly here is our 7th place game. We've got Katie's King George Scadaboo, our number 7 seed, who finished the season at 7-7, up against Ben's Go Gators, the number 5 seed, who finished at 8-6. Their initial projections are Go Gators has a 7-point projection advantage, and they both had several players play on the Christmas Day games, with Cortland Sutton, Travis Kelce, and Will Lutz already playing for King George Scadaboo. While on Go Gators, he had Jake Ferguson, Javonte Williams, Aaron Jones, and Jake Shaken Bates already play. So with a good chunk of their lineups already playing, the differential is still the same here approximately. We've got about a 6.5-point projected lead for Go Gators, while he has an actual 19-point lead in terms of actual points, as he had one more player play. This one's going to come down to it pretty much simply. It's going to come down the Sam Darnold, James Cook stack here for Go Gators versus Justin Herbert and Bijan Robinson. Sam Darnold I had as a should sit this week. Justin Herbert I had as I think it should sit as well. But so it's Bijan Robinson versus James Cook. How is this one going to go? That's going to be the determining factor for our 7th place game. Now it's time for our 5th place game. Battle of the co-hosts here. Michael's Amazing Spidey finished as the number 8 seed, 7-7, versus Bernie's team B at 9-5, the number 3 seed, the number 1 team in overall points scored in the regular season, and number 2 in the power rankings. This has potential for some fireworks, even though it's only a 5th place game. Going into the week, Team B was projected at 107 points, while Amazing Spidey at 102. But after the Thursday night games, where let's see, Amazing Spidey had 2 players play, and Team B had 3 players already go. Not only has Amazing Spidey's projection completely swapped, as he's now favored by almost 19 points, but he's also ahead 27.1 to 24.9. With playing one less player. He survived Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who really had duds, while he got lucky with an R.J. Harvey last-minute touchdown. But the true play and managerial, what made him a good manager this week was picking up the Detroit Lions as his streaming defense, who came through with 11 points.
We'll cross the streams. Excuse me, Egon. You said crossing the streams was bad.
Bernie's Team B has left to go his guys that always cause him headaches, but also have potential for big scores. He's got Jonathan Taylor, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, and Kenneth Walker. These guys are boom bust players. We're going to see how this one goes. While Amazing Spidey has his top receiving core left and his quarterback left to go with Drake May. He's got Mike Evans, Nico Collins, and A.J. Brown. At the moment, I got Breece Hall in my lineup with a ridiculous 17.5 point projection. That is ridiculous. But I might be looking for other options, as I think there's no way he's going to hit that projection. All right, on to our next game here. This is the third place game. This is the bittersweet game. These guys were so close to be fighting for a championship bout here, but unfortunately they're playing for third place. This is always right against Alex's They Took Our Jobs, our number 1 seed versus the number 6 seed in terms of their playoff seedings. Always right, never wrong, projected at 101 points, while They Took Our Jobs' initial projection was near 95. However, there's only one player to play on Thursday, and that was Jahmyr Gibbs for They Took Our Jobs, who only had 7.4 points. So he's already lost 10 points, 11 points on his projection. The live projection is always right, never wrong, is favored by 17 points, but they have their entire lineup in front of them, so there's just too many ways for this one to go. Let's see what catches our attention here. We got Puka Nacua and Josh Jacobs and Joe Burrow. I like those three right there quite a bit for always right. While the other side of the ball is Baker Mayfield, who has a chance for a good week this week, actually. Jacoby Myers also has a chance for a good week. And Kyron Williams. And this is going to be interesting here. The obvious favoritism here goes to always right, never wrong. But there is potential for They Took Our Jobs to come through. All right, guys. Now it's time for the championship game. This is what we're all here waiting for here. Corey's May Daddy 2s, the number 4 seed, finished at 8-6, atop of our power rankings, versus Brian's under 40, who finished 9-5, our number 2 seed and number 10 in the power rankings. This one had a huge 15-point projected advantage going into the week for May Daddy 2s, who had a 110-point projection to 95 for I'll Take the Under 40. And they both only had one player play on Christmas Day, and this really did shrink the live projection, as Jamison Williams was a dud for May Daddy 2s, getting only 4.7 points against his 12.2 projected. And Bo Nix had a strong day, not spectacular, but very strong, at 21.5 points over his 18-point projection. So right now, the live projection, which started out as a 15-point differential, is now down to a 4.5-point differential, still in favor of May Daddy 2s, but he's already dealt with one dud. Can Brock Purdy do it again? He's going to have to wait till Sunday night to see if Brock Purdy can bring home a championship for May Daddy 2s. However, I will say right now, the lineup here for Brian's under 40 is tough. He's got two Indianapolis Colt receivers in his lineup, Alec Pierce and Josh Downs. And he also has Darnell Mooney in his lineup as well. Brian's under 40, a little tip here for you. You have Darnell Mooney in your wide receiver spot. They play on Monday night. You can keep these same guys if you want, but put Josh Downs in that wide receiver spot. That way you can sub out Darnell Mooney for a running back if needed as a flex option here later in the day. You don't have to change your lineup, but just change where they're at. Gives you a little more flexibility. And honestly, I'd be looking for other options to get away from Darnell Mooney. Don't listen to me. I don't want to mess up your thing. I'm just saying Darnell Mooney's been a dud all year long. He does have Devontae Adams and Rome Odunze on his bench, but Devontae Adams has now been downgraded to doubtful, and Rome Odunze is already out. And Bayshal Tutin's on his bench, who's already out. Drop these guys. Pick up some other chances here. You might have some flex plays out there on the waiver wire and free agency market that might be better than who you have in your lineup at the moment. All right, guys, I want to thank you all so very much for joining me today. I know my voice is awful. I appreciate you sticking with me here. Good luck to our fantasy managers. Depending on the lineups here, this is our last week of our show, by the way, for the season here. We're definitely going to have a couple more shows heading into Sunday night. And that might be we might do our final stream on Sunday night or Monday night. We like to crown the champion live. And if Darnell Mooney stays in the lineup for I'll Take the Under 40, that's going to force our hand to have a Monday night live stream. That's fine. Don't pick your lineup based on us. But if it ends up that Darnell Mooney gets out of his lineup, our final show will be a Sunday night live stream where we will crown our champion. So it'll be a little bit of an ebb and flow, and we'll keep you updated through Sunday on when our last show might be. For all of you guys who found us this season, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so very much. We've had a little bit of an influx in subscriber rate this last week. I appreciate that so much as well. We are going to finish up here as this week 17 ends, and we'll be back for the preseason next season. So follow us along, see who wins our championship between May Daddy 2s and I'll Take the Under 40. With that being said, guys, you can find us on your favorite audio podcasting platforms. Our audio feeds are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and the Odyssey app. Just search Wingman the League, and we'll come to the top of your search. And while you're there, hit that follow button. Leave a 5-star rating and all that good stuff. If you want to see our show, we do have our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube or youtube.com/@wingmanfantasyfootball. When you're over there, guys, do me the favor, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Go ahead and leave a comment with your start and sit questions. We will address those in our Sunday morning quickie early on Sunday before the games kick off there. So if any start sit questions, I will address those there. With that being said, may your glasses be full, your mug stay frosty. May I wish you good health. May I wish me good health. And we will see you next time.